All right, if you're watching this video, you're probably saying to yourself, I still have no idea how to do this quiz. Well, we're going to go through all 5 problems yet again so you can have a full understanding of how to do these. And when you do your retake quiz, it's going to make much more sense. So let's start with our first question here, okay? What you have to do is start by reading the question and filling in the given information. It tells us that G is 62 degrees. It tells us that Ghk, which is over here, is 54 degrees. And most importantly, well, no, I shouldn't say most important, but very importantly, it tells us that Hj is congruent to Kj. So let's mark that. Now the question is triangle Ghk an isosceles triangle? And remember, isosceles means that they're going to have 2 congruent angles. So we have to check to see if this has 2 congruent angles over here. So we got to find the angles, huh? Well, right now we're missing this angle and this angle. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to start by looking at our triangle right here, KHJ. And if you notice something, this is an isosceles triangle, all right? And you see that these two are your congruent sides. If these two are the congruent sides, that means this other side is the base, meaning these 2 angles are congruent, all right? So how do we find those missing angles? Well, you might remember what you do is you do 180 minus 54, and that's going to give you 126. Okay? That's 126. But that's not the measure of the angles. You have to divide that into 2. So when you divide that into 2, you get 63. Oh, I don't know why I said squared degrees. So each of these angles is 63 degrees. And you could check the math on that. If you do, you'll see that all 3 of these add up to 180, and this is an isosceles triangle. But that doesn't help us much with this triangle, so we're going to have to do this. We're going to find this angle over here by using linear pairs. These 2 angles are a linear pair, so I could do 180 minus 63, and that gives me 117 degrees. So that'll go right here. All right. So now that we have 2 angles of this triangle, we're going to find the third one, and all you got to do is add these 2 angles together. So 62 plus 117, that gives us 179, crazy enough. And then to find the missing angle over here, we just do 180 minus 179, and that gives us 1 degree, which is crazy, but it is true. So since if you look at our triangle now, we can start answering our question. Is triangle Ghk an isosceles? Well, if you look here, none of the angles are the same. This is a scalene triangle. So no, this is not an isosceles triangle. It does not have 2 congruent angles. That's the answer to our first one. Let's try the second one now. Okay, so in this one, we have something that looks like this. We have our TV. All right. Now it tells us the height is 15, okay? And we want to find the diagonal of our TV. Now first we got to do is we got to find the width. And the way we do that is we're going to set up a proportion. And the proportion is this. The ratio of the width to height is 12 to 5. So width is 12, height is 5, right? That is our ratio. Since we are missing the width here, we're going to set the ratio of, to find W, we can do W over 15 will give us our answer, okay? So width to height, 15 is the height here, 5 is the height. See how our proportion matches up? It's very important it matches up, all right? Width over height. To solve for W, our width, we're going to cross multiply, and we have 5W is equal to 180. We're going to divide both sides by 5. And when we do that, we get W is equal to 36. But that is not our answer, okay? The reason is the question says, what is the diagonal? And to find the diagonal, we have to remember that this is a right triangle, okay? This is a right triangle with sides of 15 and 36. So if I want to find that, I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem because that is how you find the missing side of a right triangle. So let's plug what we know in. Our legs are 15 and 36. Our hypotenuse is x. Remember, you find your hypotenuse by going across. The Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Let's plug in what we know. A is 15. All right, so 15 squared plus 36 squared is equal to c squared. 15 squared is 225 plus 36 squared. I got to put that in the calculator. I can't do that one in my head. That gives us 1,296 is equal to c squared. We're going to add those together. All right, bear with me for a second. And we get 1521. 1521 is equal to c squared. To find out what c is, or our hypotenuse, what we're going to do is take the square root of both sides, and we get c is equal to 39. So, to answer our question fully, this is 39. The diagonal is 39 inches. Okay? And that is how this question is done, son. Next question. This guy, I am so pissed if you got this wrong. You just had to draw two triangles, all right? Just start drawing the two triangles. How many times you got to say it? Just draw two triangles. Jeeb. All right, we got triangle 1, the small one, and then we got our big triangle, triangle 2, okay? In our small triangle, the sides are 15 and 2.5, all right? In our big triangle, the sides are 6, and to find this whole length of TA, it is 15 plus x. You have to add those two together to get what TA is. That's 15 plus x. That's the key there. That's why we draw the two triangles, so we can see things like that. All right? Now we just set up a ratio. 15 is to 15 plus x, as 2.5 is to 6. If we cross multiply these, we get 90 is equal to 15 times 2.5. Yeah, I'm doing it on a calculator. I'm okay with admitting that. I know we get 37.5 plus 2.5x. All right? And then you just have to solve this equation. For the sake of time, I'm just going to say this. You should do it on your own, and you should get x is equal to 21. That would be how if you solve that correctly. Moving on to this one. Well, if you read all the statement, it tells us that segment OT is drawn so that angle C is congruent to OTU. That is not random information. That is important information. So we're going to mark those as congruent. It then tells us that TU is 5, OU is 8, OC is 7, and we're looking for ST, which is x. Now I'm going to say this again. You cannot use the side splitter theorem. I know they're across from each other, but it never says in the question that the two bases are parallel. It does not say these are parallel. So since we cannot use the side splitter, we're going to be drawing two triangles, because these are two triangles overlaid. My God, I don't know how many times I have to say this, but draw the two triangles. Draw them right now. Draw them! Sorry, I didn't mean to get all pissed, but you should draw the two triangles. Okay, so let's draw two triangles. Bear with me. We have our small triangle, and then we have our big triangle. Okay? Our small triangle looks like this. OTU. O, T, and U. All right? So OT we don't know. TU is 5, and OU is 8. Now I'm going to keep saying this, but when you draw your triangles, you have to make sure all the corresponding angles are in the right place. So when I redraw this, when I ask you, what is corresponding to angle T? Well, what corresponds to angle T in the bigger triangle is angle C. Do you see how corresponding angles go in the same place? I know that T is up here and C is down here, but these are actually flipped over versions of each other, the way it's drawn. So you have to flip it over yourself. T has to correspond to C in this place right here. Okay? Now what corresponds to U? Well, U corresponds to U. It's the same angle. And finally, for the last one, we have S. You see how S and O are both not marked? So for CU, this right here, we get 15. All right? And for SU, which is right here, once again, we got to add them together and get x plus 5. Okay? So what we're going to do is set up our ratios. 15 is to 5, as x plus 5 is to 8. We cross multiply these guys, and what we should get is 8 times 15 is 120, is equal to 5x plus 25. If you solve this correctly, well, I'll just do it. 95 is equal to 5x divided by 5, and you get x is equal to 19. So to answer this completely, we would say ST equals 19. Blah, blah, blah. Remember, you have to put the corresponding angles in the same place. Okay, so corresponding angles all go in the same place. All right, that's so important when drawing your triangles. Final question, how to do this one, the flagpole. Once again, we draw a flagpole, all right, and we got a little boy named Tim. Look at him. Hey, I'm Tim. I'm a little boy. That's what he's saying. It tells us that a flagpole casts a shadow that is 20.5 meters long. Okay, so here's the sun, it's coming down, and the shadow over here is 20.5. All right, Tim, our little boy over here, stands at a distance of 12.5 meters from the base of the flagpole. So from here, the base of the flagpole to Tim is 12.5. If Tim is 2 meters tall, what is the height of the flagpole? Now, I'm going to say this again. What you have here is a small triangle created by Tim, all right? And then you have the bigger triangle created by the flagpole. So we have a small triangle and we have a big triangle. So we're going to draw two triangles yet again. Same strategy. Now the big triangle is pretty easy, right? Because we have X for the flight of that flagpole, which was right here. And we know the shadow is 20.5. All right? Now Tim is 2, but we don't know how long his shadow is. We actually only know how far he is from the flagpole. So what we have to do is subtract these two numbers. So 20.5 minus 12.5 actually gives us 8. Okay? So now we're going to set up our ratios. X is to 2 as 20.5 is to 8. We get 8x is equal to 41. Divide by 8 and you get x is equal to, let's put that in the calculator, 5.125. All right, and that is your answer. That is how tall, 5.125 meters. All right, you always put your units. And that is all our answers, okay? So I'm going to say this. You have the video that explains how to do each one of them. You can pause it, you could rewatch as much as you want, but you should be using the same process for each problem to solve your new retake quiz. All right, it's right in front of you. Watch as many times as you need, but I want this quiz done right. You hear me? Okay, kiss your mama and tell her you love her. Bye.